Hello everyone, my name is Marion, and I have no idea what I am doing. For context, a while ago, I had finished watching the first season of My Adventures with Superman when the final episode had came out, and needless to say, I really wanted to make a video about it. The video itself was going to be called I Need to Talk About My Adventures with Superman, but needless to say, the video kind of fell through. The thing is that I basically wanted to talk about how this was the Superman series I had been waiting for years, how finally we are now no longer going to have to be cursed by the whole like, oh, what if Superman was evil trope that's been going on for so long, because for some reason people think that the only way you can write an interesting Superman story is to make him evil, which is not true, because he himself as a character is already interesting enough. You don't need to do some weird spin on him in order to do that. I'm talking to you, Injustice and Injustice 2, and Zack Snyder, and pretty much everyone else who's been perpetuating this for so long. And so, yeah, like, it was such a fresh take. I loved it. It was everything I ever wanted. It was adorable. It was amazing. And basically, I wanted to talk about it, you know? But unfortunately, everything that could have went wrong. Videos got corrupted, audio got corrupted. I lost like hours of footage at some points. And it got to a point where I was no longer having fun filming the video in the first place. And what made me fully scrap the video entirely was when I actually went and did some dog sitting for a weekend at my Thea's house, and I filmed a video there. I filmed a video of me reacting to intermission commercials, which is a video that will eventually be coming out. And I had fun making it. And doing that made me realize, oh, I wasn't having fun making the Superman video. So, and there's a saying, I don't remember the exact saying, of like, if you're not having fun creating something, why are you still trying to, or if you're not having fun, you know, creating something, why are you still creating it, or something along those lines. But it sounded a lot better coming from them, you know? And so I scrapped it. And it makes me sad because, like I said, this was something I really wanted to talk about. The fact that, like, you know, the fact that, first of all, Clark actually acts like a person, because for some reason in so many adaptations they portray him as like someone who is an alien, even though Superman grew up on Earth like everyone else. Like, I've proposed this question to people before where I was like, if you were to ask Superman where he was from, what do you think he would say? And most people will say like Krypton, or like, you know, the planet that he's from, because they don't remember the name of the planet. And the thing is, he wouldn't answer that. He would answer Kansas, because that's where he grew up. He came to Earth when he was a baby, you know? And it's kind of like the saying of how, like, if you were to take a baby from like thousands of years ago during like, just, you know, basically the ancient times, and then bring them to here and raise them here, they wouldn't be very different compared to every other kid as well. So it should be the same thing with Superman, which is what so many adaptations get wrong. Like, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, he acts like an alien, and I hate that so much. But this series, like, another thing is the fact that, like, Clark, you know, there's this whole thing of like, oh, Superman's the real identity and Clark Kent is the fake identity, you know? And that's something that's also been perpetuated with Batman, but especially with Superman. But here they're like, no, Clark Kent is the real identity. Superman is the, you know, fake persona, if you will. And I love that. I love that so much, because it's what Superman is. When it comes down to it, Superman is a nice guy who, yes, is extremely overpowered for his own good, but the thing that stops him from being way too powerful is the fact that he cares so much, and he has such an immense sense of empathy. And that's why I loved the series so much. And so, yeah, it makes me sad that I didn't get to talk about it fully, but when it comes down to it, when you're making a video and you're not having fun with it, stop. Just stop it. You know, come back to it later, or just stop it. Maybe I will come back to the series later when I'm able to do bigger stuff like that. But until then, I'll hold off from it for now. I'll keep my love for it on the inside, and the little bit I just spewed out of all of you, if there is anybody watching this, if you will. Besides that whole debacle with that video, the other things that had happened during that time, like there was a whole debacle last week actually, where I had lost both the ring on my index finger and my ring finger. And obviously, like, these rings were featured in my first ever, my first video, my first real video, which was the Miguel O'Hara video. But these are not the same rings because I had to buy new ones, as I actually had lost those two rings in an Uber as I had them in my pocket. I don't know what happened. They must have fallen out. I called the guy. We did everything he could. I basically did everything I could. And he eventually responded, and he was just like, listen, I couldn't find them. I'm terribly sorry. And, you know, I felt bad that I actually had to inconvenience the guy and all that shit. But you know what? It was okay. It's funny, too, because when I went to go buy these new ones, I went down to the local Gothic store, and my friend V-Man, who works there, I call him V-Man, that's not actually his name. I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, this happened and all that shit. And he's like, damn, that sucks. Anyways, so you're going to buy them? I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, that's $40 down the drain for things that I had already owned, but because of my own incompetence, I lost them. I am responsible with money. So, anyways, besides all that, I don't really know what's going on. You know, I just turned on my camera, you know, because that Superman video, there was notes, there was a script. The Miguel O'Hara video was scripted. The intermission video, while not scripted, I was still watching videos for it, so I could still like riff off of it. I can still build off of it. Here, there's nothing. There's nothing here. There's no script. There's my computer that is recording audio. That is all it's doing. And that's really it. There's nothing else, you know? I just turned this on and I was like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just do this. But yeah, this video, there's nothing. This is just me talking. I don't know if there's anybody good who's going to watch this video, but if there is somebody out there, if there's anybody out there, hi. This is unfiltered, I guess. This is just an unfiltered version of me, I suppose. There's no script or anything to this. I just want to film something, really, because I had felt like so much of my time had been wasted making that video that I'm like, you know what? Whatever, let's just turn on the camera and see what happens. So, yeah, here we are. I guess I can show you guys some of the stuff I have back here. This is a mural of Robert Smith that I painted. This is an Edgar Allan Poe plaque with a very nice quote that I like. This is a red door that my dad gave me, that he found, and a nice piece of art that I found in an antique shop. Along with that, also there's this guy. I actually got this guy just earlier this week because I love crows and I like him. I like him a lot. The great thing about Halloween season is it's the best time to shop for like knickknacks because, you know, just look at me. And then here's my Ronald McDonald collection. This is just like some of it. I have some other stuff inside my house and things like that. I eventually want to make a Ronald McDonald video kind of going over the history of him and why he's one of my personal childhood heroes. Which I eventually, like, I've already written the script. I'm eventually going to do that. Actually, here's a fun fact about me. I can recite the entire history of Ronald McDonald all the way through from memory. That is not a joke. I am not joking about that. And if you know what? How about this? Let's just do this. You know what? Let's just do this. Pretty much from this point, I'm not going to do any cuts. You're going to see the unfiltered entire history of Ronald McDonald all the way through from my memory. All right, here we go. In 1963, McDonald's was looking for a brand new brand new mascot, if you will, because for a while they had been using Bozo the Clown for their commercials and things like that. He was a wildly popular pop culture character to children. The thing is that the Bozo show eventually came to an end, so they were like, okay, we need to come up with a new mascot. So that's when in 1963, it becomes a little like murky around here because both McDonald's and Willard Scott the Weatherman both kind of take credit for creating Ronald McDonald. Willard Scott actually himself had actually played Bozo quite a few times. I don't know too much about that, but anyways, he had actually been quoting saying that he was the one who sat down and created Ronald McDonald. So, like I said, it's a very murky thing because both sides kind of claim to be being the people who essentially created Ronald McDonald. God, the worst part is I'm not going to be able to cut this because I need to prove that I can do this all in one take. Anyways, so in 1963, Ronald McDonald would eventually make his TV debut, and he would look quite different than what we're used to. With his tray hat, his very raggedy hair, and um, his two sets of eyebrows, his cup nose, his that like red part around his mouth going all the way around the bottom part of his face. He had like this like belt, like this tray belt that could spawn infinite hamburgers, infinite milkshakes, and infinite French fries and things like that. He essentially looked like a man. He essentially looked like a man who fell into a garbage bin, if you will, and the reason behind that is because they didn't actually get someone from the clowning business to design him. They just designed him themselves. So obviously, he wasn't going to look very good. And this look would actually last for over 2 years until in 1965 when a clown by the name of Coco would actually come, McDonald's would actually bring him in and he would actually redesign Ronald McDonald himself. And pretty much from that point, the design was pretty much set in stone. Obviously, there's still some differentiations between the Ronald of then and now, and in between and things like that. But the overall base design was there. The red and white striped sleeves, the yellow jumpsuit with the zipper, the collar. The base paint was kind of already. The face paint was still a little meh. Like it still went around the entire part of the bottom part of his mouth. But you could tell that slowly over time, Ronald was starting to form into what we eventually would know him to be. But there was still a problem. You see, the thing is that while, Ronald looked like Ronald now, he still didn't act like Ronald. You see, McDonald's was essentially trying to, recreate the Bozo, the clown show. And so in the commercials, Ronald would act like an actual clown, like with his raspy Showtime voice and things like that. And there would even be like audience participation. It felt like you were watching a commercial version of the Bozo the Clown show. Ronald would even get into his own clown mischief and things like that clowns are very well known for. And so while it looked like Ronald, it didn't feel like Ronald. And that's when the man known as King Moody steps in. King Moody would eventually be brought in 1967 to portray Ronald McDonald, and that is when Ronald's personality would be set in stone too. You see, King Moody, the thing is that King Moody portrayed Ronald as not a clown, but more so a person who happened to be a clown, if anything. Instead of his raspy Showtime voice, he softened his voice. He softened his voice. He made himself to be a lot more of just an overall nice person, if you will. That sounds a little weird, but what I mean is that he more so he just acted like an overall nice person, if anything, and things like that. And so, like overall, Ronald's personality came from King Moody. From that point on, every actor who would portray Ronald, no matter what, are pretty much building off of King Moody's original take on Ronald. And eventually, the 1970s would roll around, and that is when the McDonaldland ad campaign would come around. The McDonaldland ad campaign was kind of like this weird psychedelic type of hippie land, if you will, with milkshake volcanoes, apple pie trees, hamburger patches, and French fry plants and things like that. And along with the introduction of a brand new landscape to film in, I can't cut that out. There was also a new introduction of characters as well, besides Ronald, who, of course, was featured very heavily in the McDonaldland ad campaign. The new characters such as Mayor McCheese, Officer Big Mac, Captain Crook, the Professor, Hamburglar, Grimace, who at the time was being portrayed as Grimace the Milkshake Monster with 4 arms. All of these characters would be introduced through the McDonaldland ad campaign. And this psychedelic style would last until around 1976. But before we get to that, let's actually talk about 1975 real quick, as in 1975, the cast would actually get redesigned a little bit, but specifically Ronald would get a redesign that's pretty much, to me at least, is my least favorite redesign of Ronald of all time. These redesigns were contributed by Chuck Jones, who is mostly well known for his time with the Looney Tunes and the early 1960s version of the Tom and Jerry cartoons, if you will. And he would design Ronald to give him like this weird like Beatles haircut, like this really shaggy, really weird hair. His eyebrows were made uneven to kind of give him this imperfect look, if you will, which is stupid because Ronald is perfect, you son of a bitch. Uh, um, but yeah, and really bad design. I don't like it. It just looks really weird. He just looks sad. He just looks off. You know, like if like the original Ronald's like if the original first Ronald from 1963 looked off, like looked very very off. Like if like say he's like this is the original Ronald. Like this is the original Ronald compared to normal Ronald. This version of Ronald is like right here. Like it's like you're just like that's not right type of thing. God, I suck at this. I've done this so many times too. Um, yeah. But for context, I have told people the history of Ronald McDonald all the way through at least 10 times or more than that by now. I have a curse. Um, but anyways, so eventually they would get rid of that design, so we would never see that shit ever again. But along with that, in 1975, the McDonald land, if you will, would actually no longer be used, as the Kroft brothers would actually come in and sue McDonald's and say that they actually stole the idea of McDonald Land from them. So they no longer are allowed to use it. And so for a while, the characters would just kind of go to a McDonald's. They would just be featured in the real world, if you will, until around 1976 onward, which 1976 was also the debut of Birdie the Early Bird to promote their breakfast. But from that point on, McDonaldland would transform into this more Disney-esque style, if you will, like something like you would find it like in Toontown or like on the Disney Channel and things like that, like the Muppets show from the 90s, like kind of like that, if you will. That is essentially what McDonaldland would turn into. And this would pretty much last for the rest of the McDonaldland ad campaign, which we will get to in a bit. Anyways, so here's actually another fun fact, or not so fun fact, I guess. In 1979, if I'm remembering correctly, King Moody actually suffered a heart attack. He luckily survived, though, but while he was in recovery, for 3 commercials, Ronald was actually portrayed by a completely different actor. I don't know the actor's name. I would actually need to ask Filming in McDonaldland. Actually, I'm going to link in the description Filming in McDonaldland's Instagram, as I don't know his name. Nobody really knows his name, but he was actually somebody who worked in McDonaldland and actually is like he was one of the biggest parts of that, to where a lot of the things that is so recognizable with Ronald McDonald, he actually was the one that he's the one who's credited with that. But we'll get to that. But so yeah, but eventually King Moody would come back. And so, but then in 1985, King Moody would eventually finally be retired. I make it sound like as if like I was like waiting for it, but what I mean is he was eventually retired. He had portrayed Ronald since 1967 all the way to 1985, so well over 18 years. So that's just complete insanity. He eventually would be replaced with Squire Friedel, who would portray Ronald from 1985 to 1992. And overall, he was a pretty all right Ronald. He's not one of my personal favorites, but I think he did an all right job, if you will. But in 1992, he would be replaced with one of my personal favorite Ronald actors, Jack Dopike. The thing about Jack Dopike, I think the reason why he sticks out to me so much is the fact that whatever. Okay. Okay. I can't cut that. I hate the fact that I can't cut, but I need to prove this. I need to prove to like nobody who's watching that I can do this. Anyways, Jack Dopike, here's actually a fun fact. Jack Dopike was actually found, at least from what I believe, Jack Dopike, well, so okay, rewind. All right, rewind from before 1992. Jack Dopike was actually a local Ronald McDonald in the Chicago area, if I'm remembering. And we know this because he actually was used in the Ronald McDonald House VHS, or one of the VHSs, if you will, to kind of promote the Ronald McDonald House charities, if you will. And it's my belief that McDonald's or someone in the McDonaldland, like anyone, like someone who worked in the McDonaldland branch of things, because the thing is, there's the McDonald's Corporation and then there's the people who worked in the commercials specifically. It's kind of like they were 2 kind of separate entities. McDonald's would just be like, hey, promote this, and they would be like, okay, type of thing. And so Whoever it was, they must have saw on the tape and been like, this guy is actually really good. Which is the reason why Jack Dopike sticks out to me so much, because he feels like a guy who really really enjoy he really I'm trying to God, I suck at this. I'm really bad at speaking right now. I don't know why. I'm usually really good at doing this. But anyways, he there was that you can tell that he really enjoyed playing the character because he had already been doing so locally. So when they brought him onto TV, he fit so perfectly, if you will. Um, and he would portray Ronald all throughout the 90s and would portray him in the first three episodes of the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald cartoon, which was actually animated by Klasky Kasupo, so who are the same people behind Rugrats, The Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power, all grown up. Basically all those cartoons that looked a little off in the 90s, but everybody liked it. Oh, and also I believe Real Monsters too. No disrespect to them. I love the Rugrats and all that shit. Anyways, so eventually Jack Dopike would be retired in 1999 and be replaced with pretty much most, like, people from my generation remember the most. The Ronald actor that people from my generation would remember the most, and that's David Hussey. He was the Ronald who portrayed him all throughout the 2000s up to around 2014, but we're getting ahead of ourselves once again. He would portray Ronald in the last three episodes of The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, and this is when 2003 comes around. 2003 was a weird time, as this is when the McDonaldland ad campaign would come to an end, as this was around the time when the Super Size Me documentary came out, and everybody was like, what? McDonald's is not healthy? What? You know who else? Jesus Christ. But yeah, it really did affect the commercial side of things, because then there was that connotation of like McDonald's is trying to promote unhealthy eating habits to children, which is a pretty good argument, because it's like, yes, technically, like, if you really think about it, these characters were created to market to kids so that way they can go down to McDonald's and eat the food, which is obviously, as we all know, not very healthy food. But with that being said, besides with that being said, besides the fact that the Super Size Me documentary is complete and utter shit, it's not complete and utter shit, but it's like shit because he claims that McDonald's like fucked with his liver when it turns out he had actually been like a severe alcoholic since he was a teenager and all that shit. He also never posted exactly what he like ate throughout all this time. So when somebody else, I believe the movie was called Fathead, attempted this, it was actually there was a much different result. It was nowhere near as drastic or like oh my god compared to Super Size Me, because a lot of that shit was just really contributing to the fact that the guy was a fucking severe alcoholic who obviously was not in very good shape whatsoever. So yeah, there you go. Anyways, so the McDonald ad campaign would come to an end because of that, and that's when the I'm loving it like thing would go on. Ronald was not completely phased out though. He would last all throughout the 2000s still. In 2004, actually, or no, actually, in 1999. God, I'm stuck at this. Anyways, in 1999, with the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, they actually redesigned his jumpsuit a bit, and this jumpsuit would eventually be redesigned into the modern Ronald McDonald jumpsuit. In 1999, he would eventually be given that jumpsuit. So yeah, like, which actually changed up the jumpsuit quite a bit. It got rid of like the white pockets and the big zipper, instead of replaced it with a much thinner zipper. It's on this side because it's on this side. A patch with the McDonald's M and some pockets. It made the stripes on his undershirt much wider. And the person behind filming in McDonaldland was actually the one who is actually credited for redesigning Ronald that way, or redesigning Ronald to be. He was the one that did that redesign. It's 4 a.m. Give me a break. Anyways, so Ronald would last all throughout the 2000s, with the Smile On campaign to the Ronald Graham campaign until 2014, which was when the last Ronald McDonald commercial would ever air, or the last Ronald McDonald commercial would ever be created or aired, if you will. God, I cannot speak. It was the Make the Gray Skies Go Away commercial with the little girl who's obviously very sad with this gray cloud above her, and Ronald comes in and makes her day better and things like that. It's a really nice commercial. I really love it. It still gives me nostalgic feels. It makes me feel happy on the inside of my cold, dead soul. Anyways, the Joy Division was the Joy Division. Anyways, so yeah, 2014 would be the last Ronald McDonald commercial. Would be when the last Ronald McDonald commercial would air, and it's funny too because in 2014 he would actually get a drastic redesign, more drastic than his redesign in like 1999 or so, because this would actually fully get rid of the jumpsuit and replace it with like this vest, and he would wear cargo pants. Occasionally he would wear this like red blazer and things like that. At first, a lot of people, including myself, really did not like this redesign, but as time has went on, I actually have grown to like it a lot, like a lot, if you will. So, whatever. I think it's an overall alright redesign, but a lot of people theorize it's McDonald's trying to stray away from Ronald being a clown, if you will. Like, they're trying to stray. I can't speak. But anyways, besides all of that, eventually, in 2016, though, this is also very significant. In 2016, the killer clown craze would go on, and it was this whole stupid bullshit thing where people were dressing up as killer clowns and running after people, and Ronald actually went into hiding for quite a while, which was fucking stupid. Fuck all of you motherfuckers who did all that shit. I hate you. Yeah, but as of now, Ronald actually nowadays, if you want to catch Ronald on TV, you can catch him in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Very rarely you can catch him locally at your own local McDonald's, but that's really, really rare. He also had an Instagram, which was quite active until maybe, I believe, around last year. But recently, he actually has made a resurgence on the McDonald's Instagram. He finally returned after so long. It was such a huge thing because for a while, you know, Grimace, Birdie, and Hamburglar, all of them were coming back. So obviously people were like, when's Ronald gonna come back, you know? Because even with the adult Happy Meal thing, like, he was not featured in it. There was no toy of Ronald, except he was featured on some of the merchandise, which was rather weird. But yeah, I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to see a resurgence of Ronald. I'm really excited about that because I like the day that a Ronald McDonald commercial appears on my television. I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to cry, tears of joy. I'm going to call everyone I know and I'm going to be like, listen, I love you. Because right now, like, I love you. I love you all so much. I can finally see clearly now. I no longer am clouded by this absolute darkness that has been clouding me for years now. I can finally smile without feeling pain because Ronald is back once again. That was fucking stupid. I guess that's pretty much it. I guess I can pretty much end the video on that, you know, because that's a pretty good note to end on. Actually, you know what? There's one last thing I want to do. Like I said, if there's anybody watching this, I want you to go and check out my friend Linn Fox42 on Instagram, DeviantArt, TikTok, all of her platforms. I'm going to link them in the description. She's one of my best friends. I think that her art, I really truly believe she deserves way more attention for her art because her art is very much amazing. She's an amazing person. She's genuinely, I'm so grateful to have her in my life. You know, she's such a great friend. And I would, for those, anybody at all, even if there's only 30 views on this video, I would love for you all to check out her art on all of her platforms. Pretty much check out all of her platforms. If you use any of the platforms that I've just said, please check her out because, like I said, I love her art. It deserves way more attention. Yeah, I'm very grateful to have her in my life. She's amazing. And she's one of my best friends. So, yeah, please do that. She's probably going to be really mad at me for shouting her out in this video. But you know what? Sorry, Linn. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. You deserve way more. You're so cool and awesome. Anyways, I guess that's pretty much it. There's nothing really much else I want to say. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for watching this video. And for those of you who did. And see you again sometime soon. And remember, stay safe and sane.